is Albert Tuffalaro with Eagle Point Roofing, and I'm here today performing a roof inspection for a client. The roof was done in 1997, and it looks like they did a resheet. We're starting out here in the attic today. To note, we're seeing some rust develop on these nails here, and if you feel the wood, it's slightly moist, and there's a small amount of mold growth beginning to happen, which leads me to believe that there's a problem with the roofing system, most likely why the client called me for an estimate on replacement. So let's head up and see what we find. The air in here seems a bit stagnant. This roof could probably use some more ventilation. Let's go check out the exterior soffit ventilation. Outside now. And I'm doing a walk around to see if I can see any ventilation into the soffit. And that is looking to be a negative. Usually right here where you see these pieces of wood, there would be every other one of those would have a screen mesh in them, allowing air to breathe into the roof and come out your RVOs on top. Let's keep walking around the house and see what we find. Some intake ventilation on this backside. There's 3 screens here. One of the problems here is there's almost no intake ventilation on this front side here. That's where we were seeing some of that mold growth. I'm guessing this had a tile or a slate shingle on it before that breathes a lot better, so it probably wasn't as much of a concern for the builder. But over here on the front side, there's no soffit ventilation. And like I said, you usually want, for a house this size, let's see if we have any. Every third one of these blocks to have a screen in them. And over here on the east side of the house, we again have no ventilation. Intake ventilation, I should say. Okay, let's see if we can get a better idea of what's going on here with the thermal camera. We can see the garage has a decent amount of heat buildup, but this front section of the house where I was talking about, there's no intake ventilation. You see a lot of heat buildup, and a lot of that heat's gathering around the ridge. Let's head up on the roof and see if we can see anything else. Okay, so I think you can kind of see what I'm talking about now. This side where we have the intake ventilation in the RVOs is coming out a lot cooler, and what that means is the shingles are going to expand and contract a lot less, and that expansion and contraction is what caused premature wear of shingles. Now, on this beautiful December morning, Happy New Year to everyone. So I think you can really see what I'm talking about now. This side of the roof over here with the ventilation, the intake ventilation, like I was saying, you can see the shingles. While they're not new, they have a lot of granules on them. And those granules are what protects the tar and the fiberglass from UV rays, which are what degrade the shingle. And eventually, they'll degrade the tar down to the point where you have holes in your roof. Let's go over to the side with no ventilation. You can see the contrast between that and that. The shingles over here have worn a lot more. Down here at the bottom, we have almost no granulation left, and this roof definitely needs to be replaced. My recommendation would be to install an intake vent system, which is basically where we cut into this after the 3rd row shingles, we cut in and we install an intake ventilation system. My other recommendations would be to get a new flashing for this chimney. I'd also recommend that the siding be cut back about 1 inch. You can see it's definitely starting to rot out. There's some moss here, but I guess it's cut back, but you can see the water starting to degrade this. You want usually minimum 1 inch between any sort of siding and roofing decking, and then new step shingles in there. A new base flashing. I'd recommend while doing the roof getting a new Velux skylight. They're only about $300 and it's going to save you a lot of hassle. The skylight looks pretty worn out. The seals are going bad. The step flashing has already been repaired. You can see it's starting to rust out. That's not going to last another 30 to 50 years like your new roof will. I'd recommend a new Velux sun tunnel. You can see these pipe jacks are worn out.